About how much does it cost to file your taxes in the state of Washington?
On average, it's getting close to about $400. Across the country, Washington is one of the states where tax prep fees are highest on average. So it's a lot of money that people have to unfortunately pay towards just completing the process and accessing the benefits of filing taxes.
This is Hourglass, the podcast for United Way of King County in Seattle. It's tax season, and that means United Way of King County's free tax preparation campaign is up and running. From now until April 19th, qualified residents can have their taxes done for free, either virtually or at one of our 20 locations across King County. In this week's episode of Hourglass, we sat down with Ryan McFerran, United Way Senior Program Manager for Tax Credits and Financial Stability, and Carrie Bates, United Way Corporate Relations Manager, for a discussion about our free tax prep campaign, including what to expect when filing this year's taxes, how United Way keeps its tax site safe and accessible for residents of all backgrounds, and the impact of our campaign in our communities. We will also discuss an upcoming United Way event and a local volunteer opportunity. I'm your host, Joe Burris. Thanks for tuning in. The 1716 comedy play The Cobbler of Preston by Christopher Bullock is credited as being the origin of the popular phrase, "'Tis impossible to be sure of anything but death and taxes." At United Way of King County, we might revise that phrase to end as death, taxes, and thousands securing millions of dollars each year by filing their taxes free with us. United Way of King County's free tax preparation campaign is up and running for 2026 as we continue our annual effort to help local residents get back some of their earnings through credits and deductions by filing their returns free of charge. If you make less than $80,000 a year as a single filer or less than $96,000 for non-single filers, you can have your taxes prepared for free at one of our 20 locations across King County. Those sites are now open through April 19th, and we have a virtual site that runs from February 2nd through April 19th. Funded by United Way, the IRS, and the City of Seattle, the free tax prep campaign offers tax preparation by specialists who will help clients understand their unique tax situations and take advantage of credits like the Earned Income Credit and the Working Families Tax Credit. Many United Way free tax prep sites allow people who need an individual taxpayer identification number, or ITIN, to file for or renew their ITINs. Many tax sites also offer language interpreters for those who prefer to be served in a language other than English. Last year, United Way served more than 13,000 of our neighbors through our free tax prep campaign, helping them secure more than $17 million in tax credits and refunds, for an average refund of nearly $2,000. In 2024, we helped more than 12,000 people secure nearly $16 million in refunds. And in 2023, we helped more than 10,000 people secure more than $13 million. So you get the picture. We can confidently say that each year we help thousands of people like you secure millions of dollars in tax refunds, all for free. Also, United Way of King County has joined other Pacific Northwest United Ways and other organizations to offer myfreetaxeswa.org, a one-stop resource hub for Washington residents to file taxes and capitalize on state and federal tax credits. In this week's episode of Hourglass, we sat down with Ryan McFerran, United Way Senior Program Manager for Tax Credits and Financial Stability, and Carrie Bates, United Way Corporate Relations Manager, for a discussion about our free tax prep campaign, namely what to expect when filing this year's taxes, how United Way keeps its tax site safe and accessible for residents of all backgrounds, and the impact of our campaign on our communities. We begin with Ryan explaining how residents of King County and other local jurisdictions have until May 1st to file taxes this year, not the usual April 15th tax deadline.
Because of the recent flooding and storm damage that happened in December, the IRS granted an extended filing deadline for a group of counties across Washington, including King County and also neighboring Pierce and Snohomish County. And so what that means is that anybody who lives in King or the neighboring counties or is a business owner within our county, they now have until May 1st to file their taxes and pay any sort of tax bill that they have. So folks do have a little bit more time than usual. The traditional filing deadline and the deadline for most people this year is April 15th.
Okay. And yet we still tell folks who are going to use our free tax service to try to file as soon as you can, not wait until the last minute to do so.
Yes, absolutely. As much as we want to be able to help folks to utilize the extended filing deadline, a lot of our program and our services are really built around that April 15th deadline, which is also true for a lot of the other free tax preparation services across the state and even across the country. And so we are trying to extend the schedules of some of our free tax sites within the county so that people can come to those tax sites after April 15th to file their taxes. However, it's a process and we're still working on finalizing those plans. And so for anybody who doesn't absolutely need until May 1st to file, we are strongly encouraging you all to still keep that April 15th filing deadline in mind.
Okay. And for this year, what are some nuances? What are some things that people can expect in filing this year as opposed to previous years?
So we're getting a lot of questions from folks already about taxes on tips and taxes on overtimes and how to qualify for a additional reduction based on tips and overtime received. And I think the most important thing for people to know if they're going to go to one of our tax sites is that what you want to do ahead of time, if you did receive any sort of overtime pay and you receive a W-2 from your employers, is look at that form before coming to a tax site to see if there is overtime pay specifically broken out as a separate item on your W-2. If it's not, then what you'll want to do is get a copy of your final 2025 pay stub or pay statement, which should include a annual accrual of overtime. And we can use that information in order to calculate how much of that overtime deduction you may be eligible for. As far as tips, anybody who has a job, works in a profession where they receive tips through credit cards, that's something that should be included on your W-2 or other tax documents. However, if you do receive cash tips in addition to credit card tips, you want to make sure you know exactly how much you received in cash tips and also bring that with you to one of our tax sites. So as long as we have that information, any of our tax prep volunteers can calculate the deductions and the benefits for you.
Now, we also hear that there are folks who sometimes pay for that ITIN. And that is something that they don't have to do. In addition to preparing your taxes for free, we can do the ITIN service for free as well.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So, one of the many unfortunate realities of somebody who comes from an immigrant community, mixed as family, undocumented people, they still do have an obligation to file their taxes. They still often can benefit from filing their taxes. However, those folks often then have to go through an initial step of applying for or renewing their ITIN, individual taxpayer identification number. The challenge there is that it typically requires going to see somebody else entirely before even working with a tax preparer. Often that's a credit union where they're called certified acceptance agents on staff. So what we do is we partner with a couple local credit unions, Express Credit Union and Seattle Credit Union here in King County, and we work with those institutions to bring their CAAs, their certified acceptance agents, to some of our tax sites. And so unfortunately, we can't bring them to every one of our tax sites, and the tax sites that they do go to, unfortunately, can't have them there every day that those sites are open. But when they're there, folks can go to those tax sites. They can meet with a certified acceptance agent. They can apply for it. They can renew their ITIN. And in that same visit, they can have their taxes prepared and filed for them. So no cost for any of that. And so they don't have to worry about going out and getting it done by themselves and paying the cost of it. It also, really reduces the actual legwork that goes into filing taxes for ITIN filers and folks who need that additional service. Great.
Now you talk about immigrants. So this year, the filing season comes as we're seeing increased threats from immigration enforcement. And this might make visiting a tax site this season, much scarier than previous seasons. What steps is United Way taking to make sure that our tax sites are at the very least safe and accessible?
Yeah, it's a great question and definitely a big concern on the minds of pretty much everybody, it seems. And so, when it comes to exposure to elevated threats of immigration enforcement and tax filing, there's kind of two things to consider. One is the potential of somebody filing their taxes and then their information being shared by the IRS with DHS, ICBP, other federal agencies that participate in immigration enforcement. There was a data share agreement that was signed between IRS and DHS back in March of 2025 that would allow the sharing of personal information between the two agencies. The good news, though, is that federal court has struck down that agreement and found it unlawful. And so as of now, that data sharing, at least legal data sharing between those two agencies isn't happening and isn't allowed to happen. So there's no direct threat there. The more prominent threat, or maybe the one that is a little bit more in our faces, is ICE, CBP, other agencies showing up at tax sites to potentially find people, take them, deport them. And so what we're doing is we're working very closely with all of our community partners, because most of our tax sites are hosted by other organizations within the community, to make sure that there's policies and plans in place for each location in case that happens. Each tax site has a immigration enforcement response plan that outlines the steps that the site manager or other United Way staff should take if that happens. And so we're prepared in that way. We have a plan. Built into that plan is different potential outcomes. Do they have a warrant? Do they not have a warrant? Do they enter the tax site uninvited? All of that is being considered. But unfortunately, there is still a risk for folks. And so we also are encouraging people to really weigh the pros and the cons, the benefits of filing versus not filing, and how they file. So everybody's situation is different. And so unfortunately, we can't tell somebody, yes, you should definitely file your taxes this year, or no, you shouldn't, or you should wait. However, we are trying to encourage folks and empower folks to kind of understand exactly what the best step is for their specific situation.
And of course, we offer a virtual service. So for those who don't want to come in person, but that has some limitations too. So if someone were to come in person, what tips, regardless of who they are, what tips do you give them?
Making sure you have all of your documentation and information that you need, so that you can meet with one of our volunteer tax preparers and they can prepare your taxes and file your taxes for you during that one visit. People who have to come back multiple times during a tax season, typically that happens because they didn't bring a W-2, or maybe they needed to have a spouse or domestic partner with them that they didn't bring along. And so specifically for our tax sites, encouraging everybody to visit uwkc.org, go to the website. You'll be able to see exactly what you should have with you and make sure you have that before you make the journey. There's also potentially some strategy involved when it comes to which locations you go to and when. We're also encouraging folks to file as early as possible. And that's because most of our tax sites are walk-in only. And so they get really, really busy as we get closer to the April 15th or, now potentially May 1st filing deadline. And so anybody who goes to a tax site during those last weeks of the filing season, they're going to most likely end up waiting a while, and spending more time at a tax site means potentially more exposure. And so file early if you can, and then also kind of think through exactly, what you need. Do you need to apply for an I-10? Would you benefit from having a on-site language interpreter, like somebody could translate for you in Spanish. We offer those services, but those are also the sites often that most people go to because they can also benefit from service. So if you don't need that, maybe look at a site that's that would be a little less busy. Also, some of our tax sites are within public spaces like libraries and community centers. We don't know for sure, but we anticipate that there is a slightly higher risk in those locations because there might be places that immigration enforcement might be looking to target anyway. And so instead of going there, you could go to one of our tax sites at a HopeLink Center. We have one in Shoreline, Redmond, and Bellevue. Those are private organizations, and so there's not as much kind of cross-exposure.
Okay, great, perfect. And lastly, we always talk about the benefits of being free. For someone that doesn't know the magnitude of that, about how much does it cost to file your taxes in the state of Washington right now?
On average, it's getting close to about $400 on average. Yeah, I think it surprises people because we don't have a state income tax, and we don't have state tax returns that need to be filed. So people think, it's only federal taxes and therefore it's going to be less expensive. But across the country, Washington is one of the states where tax prep fees are highest on average. So it is very, very costly, unfortunately. So it's a lot of money that people have to, unfortunately, pay towards just completing the process and accessing the benefits of filing taxes. I think we kind of equate it to, on average, somebody who's expecting a refund can kind of accurately expect to lose about 15% of that refund just to the tax preparation fees and costs associated with it. So it's not a great way to really maximize the benefits of filing and maximize your refund.
Great. So, Carrie, can you just talk a little bit about the importance of this service, to those who are maybe interested in coming along and supporting us in this venture? Can you just talk about just the benefits of having a service and helping people get some of their hard-earned money back?
Definitely. I love, love, love the fact that this is really, truly walking the walk of what United Way is trying to do in the community, being so community-centered. We're bringing in how many volunteers this year? About
700.
About 700 community volunteers coming out to make this program possible for vulnerable families, marginalized families in our community who need that little bit of extra income to help pay for groceries, utilities, car payments, whatever it may be. It makes a big difference. We have volunteers represented from many employers in the region. So excited to be able to continue to recruit from a lot of the corporate partners who I work with. Really encourage them to let their employees know about the program, let their employees know about the fact that they can volunteer. I have a student who's in high school, and the fact that you can get professional development credits, you can use this toward that high school requirement for community service, right? I think it's such a great program. You set up a schedule. It's a pretty limited time each week, right? A few hours each week. You're signing up to do this over the course of end of January through now
April.
April
usually about 14 weeks.
Right. Yeah. It's just such a meaningful way to give back to the community. I just feel like it's such an easy way for folks to plug in. You get some training in the beginning of the year, and then you're ready to go. I know we're not recruiting right now, but I hope folks will consider joining the program in future and volunteering with us.
Perfect. Ryan and Carrie, thank you so much for talking tax today on Hourglass.
Thank you
so much for having us.
Great. For more information about our free tax prep campaign, visit www.taxexperts.org. United Way of King County's Emerging Leaders 365 is hosting a Young Professionals Coffee Connect on February 22nd at Boon Boona Coffee in Renton, beginning at 1 p.m. Emerging Leaders 365 is a group of young adults who are passionate about engaging in a year of impact to support their neighbors. Emerging Leaders commit to giving $1 a day or $365 a year, then come together to roll up their sleeves at volunteer projects and connect with like-minded residents at issue-focused events. The February 22nd event allows young professionals to come together discuss ways to support small Black-owned businesses during Black History Month, and enjoy fresh brewed coffee. For more information, log on to uwkc.org/events. World Relief Western Washington of Kent is looking for volunteers to work in its Paradise Parking Plots community garden. Paradise Parking Plots is a 2-acre garden that provides spaces for refugee, immigrant, and Kent residents to grow cultural foods and reconnect with the soil. World Relief will train volunteers to do tasks such as weeding its food forest, controlling pests and diseases, and taking part in construction projects. For more information, log on to worldrelief.org/Western-WA and click on the Get Involved page. At United Way of King County, we are working side by side with communities to build an equitable future for everyone. Hourglass United Way is a podcast that highlights how we and our partners spend time making a difference in our communities. Our work is made possible by the generous donations from people like you. Please send comments and suggestions about our podcast to hourglassunitedway@gmail.com. To learn more about our work or to support United Way, log on to uwkc.org. I'm your host, Joe Burris. Thanks for listening. Until next time.